An 11-year-old girl presented to us for routine evaluation for difficulty with board work. Her birth and development history were normal. She had no prior history of eye trauma. Her best corrected visual acuity was 20/20 N6 with minimal myopic astigmatism. Right eye examination was within normal limits. Left eye revealed a quiet anterior segment. Posterior segment of the left eye revealed a solitary, pigmented, spherical mass with an irregular surface. It was freely floating, with its location varying from mid to anterior vitreous along with the movements of the eye. The surrounding vitreous was syneretic. The mass was negative to transillumination, had no posterior attachments, and rest of the fundus evaluation was unremarkable. On ultrasound B scan, the mass was noted to be cystic with a hyperechoic wall and no internal reflectivity. It was measured to be 1.62 millimeters. This case highlights the typical presentation of congenital pigmented vitreous cyst, which is usually an incidental finding. The child was asymptomatic and there was no change in cyst morphology during the follow-up visits. This video aims to describe the various clinical manifestations, etiology, pathophysiology, differential diagnosis, and investigation modalities which can help to evaluate vitreous cysts. Vitreous cysts are rare ocular findings. They usually present between 5 to 68 years of age with a peak found in the first 2 decades of life. They can be congenital or acquired. These cysts vary in number, laterality, shape, and may be pedunculated or sessile. The surface may be smooth or crenated, and they can vary in size from less than a millimeter to up to a centimeter. Congenital cysts can be pigmented, arising from the ciliary epithelium, or non-pigmented, arising from the remnants of hyaloid vasculature as a choristoma. These may be associated with Burgmeister papilla or Mittendorf dots. Most congenital vitreous cysts are benign lesions. Light and electron microscopy of aspirated pigmented cyst has been shown to reveal layers of cuboidal cells containing melanosomes, suggesting origin from the pigment epithelium. Acquired cysts, on the other hand, can be associated with various ocular conditions like intraocular inflammation due to parasitic infestations, most common one being cysticercosis. Other conditions such as intermediate uveitis, retinal degenerative diseases like RP, retinoschisis, high myopia with uveal coloboma, post-retinal detachment surgeries, and trauma are also known to be associated with acquired vitreous cysts. Pathophysiology of acquired cysts will vary depending upon the specific etiology. It is important that we differentiate between these two entities as congenital cysts do not mandate a detailed workup as opposed to acquired cysts. Cysts which are more opaque and greyish are more likely to be suggestive of cysticercosis. Associated intraocular inflammation favors acquired cysts. Associated subretinal cysts favor an infectious etiology like cysticercosis and echinococcus. Usually these patients progress to a worsening ocular inflammation and retinal detachment. Although rare, benign and malignant tumors like ciliary body adenomas and malignant melanomas can also masquerade like a vitreous cyst and should not be missed. Hence, a thorough examination is warranted. How do we approach a case when in doubt? Ophthalmic imaging like slit lamp photography, ultrasound B scan, spectral domain OCT, and infrared fundus photography help to delineate the cyst morphology, including the presence or absence of a scolex, and also to rule out associated intraocular inflammation, RD, or a choroidal mass. Slit lamp photographs or video documentation for anteriorly placed cysts. Ultrasound biomicroscopy to rule out any mass in the angle or an attachment of the cyst to the angle structures. A meticulous 360 degrees gonioscopy would be a prelude to this in a cooperative patient. Anterior segment OCT may demonstrate a thin-walled cyst. Ultrasound B scan can help to differentiate a congenital cyst from an acquired cysticercosis cyst. In intraocular cysticercosis, hyperreflective internal echoes may be picked up due to the scolex. On the other hand, a hyperechogenic spherical structure without internal reflectivity with an echolucent surrounding vitreous points more towards the diagnosis of congenital vitreous cyst. Spectral domain OCT for posteriorly located cysts can reveal hyperreflective, thick or thin walls along with hyperreflective echoes within the substance of the cyst due to a scolex in case of cysticercosis. However, SD-OCT in a congenital cyst may show hyperreflective dots within the hyporeflective cyst. Full field fundus photography helps to document details in the background retina. Infrared photographs show speckled hyperreflectivity from the surface. Fundus fluorescent angiography does not show any retinal or choroidal vascular connections and helps to rule out a missed persistent fetal artery association. Various systemic investigations combining hematology, serological testing like ELISA, imaging like chest X-ray or CT brain can point towards an infectious or neoplastic etiology. CT orbits may show hyperreflective echoes from a scolex or from calcification in the cyst. CT or MRI brain is very important to rule out intracranial involvement by cysticercus or toxoplasma. Ultrasound abdomen can help identify hydatid cysts, which may be associated with intraocular cysts in echinococcal infection. Most patients with a congenital cyst are asymptomatic and can be observed. Few patients may have bothersome floaters and intermittent visual obscuration due to the cyst moving in the visual axis. Argon laser or Nd:YAG laser photocystotomy, pars plana cyst aspiration, and pars plana vitrectomy can be useful treatment modalities in this subset of patients. To summarize, congenital vitreous cysts are benign lesions. They need to be clearly differentiated from acquired cysts. Congenital cysts usually do not progress or worsen, they can be observed and do not warrant any intervention in majority of the cases. Acquired cysts, on the other hand, specifically of parasitic etiology, are typically symptomatic and usually worsen with intraocular inflammation and retinal complications. Hence, they warrant targeted treatment approach.